Like watching
Central
Monday Night
time. Or
Football.
what about Mountain Time though?
We're live now.
Hi, Phil.
Survivor Specialist Phil and Alexa are back, and Owen is praising Central Time. So if anybody is wondering about that, and Alexa, to answer your question about Mountain Time, and Mountain Time's too far behind. Oh, Central Time makes sense. Yeah. Because Mountain Time,
you watch
does
sports at like 5 p.m.
Yeah, but you want to either be Pacific Time or you want to be like not East Coast time, and you get like Central gets the benefit of starting things at 7 instead of 8, which is a nice feeling.
I think we should power rank our final 5 instead and make it a final 4 of the 4 time zones in the United States.
Well, what people don't realize, and this is what's important here, Owen, before we get going on anything here. What people don't realize
introduced him.
When you live in the Mountain Time Zone, or if you live in the Pacific Time Zone and something starts at 8 o'clock Eastern, you have to wait till 8 o'clock for it to start out there.
That's right.
Whereas Central Time, if it's 8 Eastern, it starts at 7.
Yeah, I hadn't realized that until Sammy and Ellie, who were in Mountain Time in Utah, they would have to watch at 8 o'clock Mountain Time, which was that's tough.
3 hours after you or 2 hours after you. Like, it's crazy. But anyway, Owen Knight is here.
Anyways.
He's here from
on
Survivor 44 on Central Time. Survivor 44. And we're here to break down the finale of this season. So Owen's actually from Survivor 43. See, I'm getting all flustered. It's not a normal opening. Survivor 43's Owen Knight, who finished 3rd place, is here to break down the finale of Survivor 44. Very excited to have Owen. We've been wanting to do this for a long time, much like most of your cast, and we've been able to get a couple on.
You've run the gamut on us, yeah. It's awesome.
But it's been fun.
You're closing it out.
Yeah, I get to close it out with I listened to a few of the other episodes. Everyone did great, and I had not been a listener of Survivor Specialist before my season, but throughout my season, I really, really enjoyed listening to you guys, like genuinely. Like I heard you saying to Wendell, it's like, oh, people don't listen to us because of our takes. It's because we get good guests. Like, no, like y'all know your shit. Like it was really fun to listen to. So yeah, and it was fun. I even thought you were spoiled at one point, but it was really fun. And
the greatest compliment.
Really, yeah. I do have a DM.
Or the greatest insult.
I know. I do have a DM from Owen at one point where he was like, dude, I really thought that you just were spoiled because you were on it. And it was mainly that my finale backup plan was exactly what took place. Like the whole time I was like everybody else. It was like, Jesse's going to win. Jesse's going to win. Like it is what it is. But my backup plan to Jesse winning was Gabler. And then Cass and then Owen and Jesse. And so I think that's when everybody was like, dude, like what is going on? But it was a lot of fun. And your season finale, well, it probably wasn't as fun for you, like sitting there and getting 3rd. I love season 43. I don't care what anybody else says. I really enjoyed the season. I thought it was such a fun ending. And you know what? Your face when Gabler got like his 3rd vote or whatever was my face to my wife who was sitting next to me on the couch. So I totally understand.
I think there were maybe 2 different reasons behind the faces, but we won't have to get into that.
Yeah, I mean, whether it was negative shock or positive shock, it was still a fun surprise. And I mean, if watching it back was really funny, and it was hard watching it live, but like now that I can like appreciate it, and like a year has passed since I played, like it's all good. And I'm actually visiting Gabler in a few weeks out in Idaho, so we're good.
That's
like
awesome.
Cass and I keep up all the time, and I'm excited to see everyone in New York too, including you. So it's gonna be fun.
Yeah,
I know.
New York
is where it's at.
In like 24 hours, we might be singing some karaoke. I don't know.
24 hours, I'm going
to be drunk. Okay, well, someone had to say it. Owen, how does it feel to be on the other side of things now? I think we asked Carlos too, but you've been watching Survivor, you played Survivor, now you're watching Survivor as an ex-player. What's that like?
It's been really fun. I mean, I've always loved Survivor, and I was worried that like the shine might come off a little bit by being a past player and like it again and being like, oh, production's around the corner, you know, like feeling like I had seen too much, but really that was not my experience. I had so much fun watching my season, now watching 44. It's been great. And like understanding maybe some of the lines of questioning the producers might be doing in a confessional, things like that has only really enhanced my experience, I would say. And just like getting to go to these parties and meet past players and getting to talk to people like you and going on all these podcasts has been so much fun. Because like the whole reason I got into Survivor podcasts and you know Reddit and everything is because I couldn't find anyone in my fucking real life to talk about this with. And so I was just like clamoring for anyone to talk about Survivor with. So it's great that now I've made all these new friends and met all these new people who love the show as much as I do. So it's been a blast.
And I think that's a really funny point because the whole reason this podcast started was because after I graduated from college, I would make my friends do power rankings and things like that. And like, I'd have the whole dorm room watching it, whatever. But then I went home and I'd like talk to my parents about the season and they'd be like, who? What person? Who are you talking about? And I'm like, we literally just watched it on TV. Like they just cast the votes. And so I reached out to, it was during season 29, and one of my friends, Will, we started doing the podcast because he was like, dude, I saw you like we're trying to write something and do something. Do you want to just talk about it? And we tried it out. And I'm so happy we did because as Alexa was telling us prior to this, she got the infamous text message of that show's still on. And there's so many of us who really care that the show is still on. And really love it and like really love the players and getting to know the players and getting to hear like the real life story of the people that we're watching in edited version, or in the case of somebody like Lauren in a very not edited version, which is super frustrating for somebody like her. But the fun part is we all, like you especially, Owen, you played the game, you know what it is when you're like, oh my God, that's not what happened. That's not what happened. But for Alexa and I to be able to sit down and talk about it, I feel like we've gained such a understanding of that a lot of like my parents, they're like, that person's not even there. What the hell do they know? And I'm like, yeah, but they're there. It's not their fault. It's hard to explain.
My parents are the same way. It's fun to like be like, no, mom, like I promise that I'm sure they're wheeling and dealing and trying stuff, but we just aren't being shown. There's this whole thing. But it's that's awesome. And it's been super fun for me as well.
So before we jump into all this, and I just want to say this early enough in this podcast so that the patrons and everybody who's playing along with our fantasy games don't screw this up. So, Owen, I just got to take a quick break to say this, and then we're hopping right back into the conversation. But so for our power rankings game this week, you are ranking 1 through 5 of how you think the order is going to go. Your goal is to get 0 points. You cannot gain points. You can only lose points. So for instance, if you put, who is left? Lauren at spot number 1, and she finishes 5th, you will lose 4 points. If you put Lauren at spot number 5 and she finishes 5th, you'll get 0 points, which is what you want. You want to get it perfect like I did last season during 43, which was not luck and was pure skill. So you want to do that. But also the people who are winning our power rankings right now are, and I want to make sure I get this right, Austin Garso with 90, Andy Vogel with 90, and Corwin Green also has 90. So there's 3 people with 90, which means we're doing tiebreakers because Alexa and I are not buying 3 buffs for this win. Okay. So the tiebreakers are going to be when you send in your email with all of this, you're going to rank your people. Your tiebreaker is going to be final vote tally. So like 631, 630, whatever you think it's going to be. Your second tiebreaker is going to be who each person's going to vote for. Okay. And we're going in alphabetical order of importance. So alphabetical order of the top jury member, whoever's name is like, what starts with A, B, C, D. That vote will be most important for you to get right compared to whoever's at the bottom. I'm doing this because otherwise somebody's going to end up getting like the same amount. They're going to be like, oh, I got 4 and you got 4. Which one matters more? I have to put a ranking system on it. Andy will explain it to everybody. It's all good.
I want it to be on the record that I had nothing to do with this.
Nothing. And I did
Can
this.
the
Just
tiebreaker be whoever buys you the most drinks on Wednesday? I say yes.
I say no because I'm going to suffer, and I don't want that to become a competition. Owen, I could see your face nodding along. You don't have to worry about the tiebreakers. I could see your face nodding along, and then your face just immediately went like, "What the hell is this?"
Yeah, well, I was confused if you meant they need to alphabetize the jurors in like the alphabetical order of the jury, or you're letting them put the jury in whatever order they want. But the first one, okay.
So, for instance, let's say Jam Jam gets voted out and doesn't make the jury. His vote, like if you correctly guess who Jam Jam voted for, his is going to be the least valuable for you to get right because he's at the bottom of the alphabet. But like Carson,
so I guess Brandon's vote is probably
Brandon's vote matters the most. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. That's the only reason I'm doing that is because otherwise it's the only way to kind of get rid of every tie. And if after all that, you're all still tied, screw me, I'll buy you buffs. Like, what are we going to do? So anyway, now we can get into it. And last thing I'll say, winning the fantasy game, Jake Thulin has 90 points. He's beating everybody by a significant amount. Michael Carroll has 73. He's the only one who can probably catch him. So that's where we're at on all of that. Now we're back to the fun. Alexa, you look like you want to say something. What's going on?
Owen, what's your take on the season right now?
Yeah, that's better.
Really nice, smooth transition. I'm really enjoying the season. I'm not going to lie. It was a little hurtful seeing some of the general energy around the marketing for this season and where it felt like it was kind of dunking on 43 a little bit. Like, these players came to play, like, unlike those people on 43. Like, I don't know. A couple of the articles I saw, I was just like, oh, like right in the heart. But
they were pretty brutal.
They were pretty brutal. And I think for the most part, it has lived up to it. I think the pre-merge was a little touch and go. I thought the production made fake idols. I'm sure people have discussed ad nauseum as, you know, those were, I don't want to say a bridge too far, but like teetering close to it. You know, I think that's a little tough. But this last stretch of episodes, maybe the past, 5 episodes without too much shenanigans, have been really fun just watching, you know, the social strategy, which is why Survivor exists, like, come to fruition, and watch the Tika 3 navigate. And I think, like, I'm so impressed, like, and it's a bummer, like you alluded to with Lauren's edit, like, it is a bummer. It's kind of the Tika show. Not that I dislike them. I love them. They're great characters. But, you know, it's hard to get as invested in a Heidi or a Lauren when, like, the confessional spread is so disparate. But I've really enjoyed it. I've gotten to meet a few of the cast members, allegedly, if CBS is listening. But yeah, it seems like a really, like, they're genuinely fun, like, huge personalities. And I think they're, like, personalities have translated to fun gameplay, and it's been really fun to watch. And people ask me, like, because I don't know if y'all had heard this story, but, like, I had the opportunity, like, to present, like, what season worked better with my schedule, because 44 filmed last June, 43 filmed last May, and I had originally said June was better for my schedule because I didn't want to miss May 1st with admissions and everything. And in hindsight, I am so glad I ended up doing 43 because my edit would have been minuscule. I probably would have been hanging out at Ponderosa with the pre-merge girlies, and I think it all worked out for the best. But yeah, they're great. I love their cast. It's awesome.
Charlie Brown would have maybe come a little earlier.
Yeah, I think so.
You know, and I was trying to find, because 2 seasons in a row we had the Charlie Brown edit, right? Because you just followed in Romeo's footsteps. I mean, he walked so you could run. I mean, that poor guy just got dragged through the dirt. And it felt like this season Jamie was kind of going that route. Although Jamie's felt like the editors doing it, like, not because it necessarily needed to be done. Like, we needed to understand, why was Owen going to lose? Why was Romeo going to lose? Because both of you were well liked by the community. So it was like, why are they going to lose? We need to get a reason. With Jamie getting 6th, then I look at this final 5, I'm like, there's no Owen or Romeo here. There's nobody where I'm being told this person can't, like, you're really enjoying, but they're not going to win. And I don't know if that's just because the Tika 3 are getting such huge edits, and Heidi and Lauren, one of them is going to finish 3rd, and we're just not getting anything from them. I don't really know, but it is weird to not see the person who keeps trying to kick the football and keeps missing.
Yeah, I think the biggest Charlie Brown that I can think of this year was Kane or Matt, I think. Both of them kind of had a string of bad luck, but they just unfortunately didn't make it as far in the game. But when you think about the circumstances that, like, fell upon them, like, really bad string of things, especially like Matt with the bad draw on that split tribal council, plus having a split tribal council there, which was, like, I guess it was around earlier than they were anticipating. I can't remember exactly. But anyway, both of those guys, I think I feel in spirit connected to. But yeah, it's almost a bummer. Just like you said, like, for whoever does make it to final tribal council and presumably lose, like, it's not because we're seeing why they didn't win. We're seeing just, like, nothing really. And it's a bummer. Because I mean, they're all dynamic. They all got cast for a reason. I'm sure they're giving good stuff on tape, but it's hard to not give Jam 68 confessionals or however many he has. Like, they're gold. And Carolyn, it's all-time characters.
You brought up confessionals, which is going to bring up my favorite topic in Survivor history. I love talking confessionals. And I don't think people realize how massive Jam's edit is right now. And I tweeted this, and then I retweeted myself from the specialist account to make myself look good. So, but here's what that wasn't Alexa, guys. That was me. But here's the numbers, Owen, just because I know you're a huge fan of the show. Russell Hantz had 108 in Samoa. Okay. Colby had 98 in Australia. Tony 1.0 and Rob Marriott, Boston Rob in 22, both had 97. Kelly Wigglesworth, Richard Hatch had 92. Rob Cisternino had 94. Kelly Wigglesworth, season 1, had 85. Lex Vandenberg had 82. Those are the only 8 Survivor players to ever have more than 80 confessionals in a single season in the history of the show. Jam Jam has 68 right now. He needs 12 to join those ranks. That's how massive his edit is.
I would bet my salary that he will. Like I think I had like 16 or something like that. So he needs 12. Yeah. Like if he makes final 3, he's there easily.
He'll get that. I would not have bet my salary on Kelly Wigglesworth being on that list if I'm going to be completely honest.
Season 1. They had so many professionals in season 1.
Yeah, that's a good like random fun fact. Like name, the top woman or whatever. But I was talking about this with Rob the other day. I did the recap over on RHAP, and the spread, like 43 was much like closer together. Mm-hmm. I accidentally deleted my spreadsheet that had all this written out. But like for 44, the average like distance away from Jam Jam's edit is like 25 confessionals or something. Yeah. And for 43, it was like 19 or something, or 16. It was much closer. And you can find this on the subreddit or whatever, but like it's wild. And I don't know if y'all have seen on Reddit, people do the time tracking now, like the time duration of the confessionals. I think that's a really interesting metric. And same kind of story, like ours, like I have it pulled up for 43 after episode 12. Like Jesse was at 17 and Cassidy was at 8, but then you look at 44 and it's just totally disparate. And there's no like middle ground. There's such a cliff after the Tika 3.
Yeah, and I'm looking at yours. You're spot on. You know your numbers off the top of your head there. But Jesse had 60 and Cass had 44, right? So like that was the difference. 1 through 6 on that season. That was the biggest gap, was 60 to 44. And Cass had more than everybody else who played on the season other than the top 6. Gabler had 46, so he was also there. But 60 was the most. Mm-hmm. Jam Jam has 68 prior to the 2.5 hour. 2 hours. We don't know how long this is going to be, but it might be 2.5 hours before they actually start the reunion or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah. And we had one 90-minute episode too. We had an extra 30 minutes or 15 minutes of airtime as well. So it's wild. Yeah.
So it's wild. And the Tika 3 are obvious. They're just a different kind of grouping. And I was comparing it to Lex, Big Tom, and Ethan, where it was just like they're going to up all the screen time. And that meant Kim Powers and T-Bird and Frank and Kim Johnson just didn't get as much. But I don't know. I think it's interesting with Heidi too. Like we just saw in the preview. I don't know if everybody saw the preview that dropped today for like the finale or was it?
Oh, poor Heidi. I saw that.
All she said was "wow." Everybody else got winter confessionals, and she was like "wow," and that was it. And I'm like, "Nice, Owen Wilson."
That's
great.
so terrible.
Wow. Yeah, that was brutal.
That's terrible.
She had a nice quote tweet on that where she threw some words. I forget what she said, but yeah, I feel for them. Like I and I heard you all talking about this. I think with Wendell, just seeing Jamie and Lauren starting to get a little frustrated with their edit. Like I think they've handled this so graciously. Like if I had made, like if I had come in 0 vote finalist and I had gotten what they've gotten edit wise, like it would have really hurt. So I commend them for their positive attitude through all of it. But
yeah.
It's hard when you have a Carolyn. Yeah, they really are.
Yeah. Now, let me ask you this because we're coming up to what was the, before we get into this, but what was most controversial about your season was the winner. And now we're coming up to this season where we have 3 people from Tika who I think we could all see winning. We have a Lauren and a Heidi who haven't gotten the edits at all, but then you look at the jury and you're like, that's a little suspicious. How much does the winner of the season impact how you feel about the season overall? Like if you're sitting here enjoying the season and somebody like Heidi, who hasn't been edited much, wins, would you feel a significant disappointment like people did with your season or no?
Me personally, I would lean yes, I think. It's hard to say. I mean, I try not to the degree, like some people are like, oh, 43 is unwatchable now, or this, certain other seasons, like they just can't because they don't like the winner. But I think overall, like it's hard to throw away like such a body of work that is a season just over the final outcome. Like obviously it leaves something to be desired, and clearly there was some storytelling that could have been differently, but I'll die on the hill that I think 43 will age much better on a rewatch. I really think the nuggets from Gabler are there. Like you talked about this. I heard you on one of the shows like early in the season, like give yourself that pat on the back. Like, and I was like, what does he know? Like who told him? Because we were famously unspoiled. So I was just like shocked that you were seeing that kind of stuff. But it can be a letdown. It just, you get so hyped up and you get so invested in some of these people. And then you're just like, why, how, why, what happened? And it for me, it's more confusion than anger, but I understand why some people get angry about it.
And who had the second most confessionals on your season, Owen? Don't look it up.
Me.
Yeah,
you
did.
Yeah.
You did. And that's what's crazy, right? Jesse, who got 4th place, had the most. You, who got 3rd, had the second most. And 1st and 2nd place were almost Cass was more than 10 behind you, and Gabler was 9 behind you. And I think there's something to be said for that. And I am 100% taking that into account when I sit here and do my rankings for this week, because even though the Tika 3 are like iconic and they're one of the best, groups that we've seen play Survivor, they're like from a personality standpoint and things like that, I will be absolutely floored if one of them is not walking away with the $1 million check at the end of this episode. Like, I will be floored based on what we've seen. If Heidi or Lauren pull this out, that is Natalie White levels of criminal. I don't care that their confessional count is significantly higher than hers was. Like, that is just rough. So I would be shocked.
Yeah, that's
I
where
completely agree.
Yeah, I think I don't like Erica winning 41 is like a very weird example, but like Erica, I think is a really good example of, I watched that having no clue that Erica was going to win, having no idea why she won. And that made the season worse for me because I couldn't get thrilled for the winner. And you go back and watch and it makes sense. But a show shouldn't be made for you to have to go back and look for the clues.
I agree. Yeah, this isn't like a murder mystery, cute, Ryan Johnson situation, right? Like, you should be able to have some vested interest in someone going into the finale and feel some satisfaction. And yeah, I feel for Erica. It's been interesting. I listened to her podcast episode. I think she handled it really graciously as well. But it's gotta hurt. I mean, to win, I would have felt slighted if I had gotten a bad edit coming in 3rd. I can't even imagine how Natalie White felt. Not that they were tracking confessional time during Samoa, but some of these edits, especially for women, it's just brutal.
It's tough.
Yeah. It really is.
And then we have Carolyn, who is still somehow getting less confessionals than Jam Jam, but she has to be leading on that time tracking, right?
Yeah, I actually literally just pulled it up. She's at 19 minutes.
Yeah. And what's
Lauren is at 7 minutes.
Wow. That's a gap.
What's Jam Jam?
Yeah. Jam Jam is at 17:21. Carson is at 13:47. And then Heidi is at 8:04. Wow. Which, to be fair, Cassidy was at 8:08. Gabler was at 10:19. And then it was pretty close between, I was at 11:33. Carla was at 13:24. Jesse was all the way up at 17:47. So a little bit closer of a spread. But yeah, you can see there's such a precipitous drop off there.
Whoever's doing that, well done. That's the kind of information that we need.
Who's doing that job?
Wow. Nintendo lost on Reddit. The hero we never needed, but we deserve it. No.
I mean, that's
nailed it.
It's, it is
like Simon on Australian Survivor.
It's crazy because it's our whole lives we've been worried about home runs and RBIs, and actually it's all been about these other statistics that I can't even think of the name of for baseball. You know what I mean? Our whole lives, what we were thinking was relevant, all of a sudden the statisticians were like, actually, this is how you build a better team. And we were like, oh, how about that? And now somebody has to track that. It's crazy.
Joey Votto just gets on base every single time. It's that kind of stuff.
Yeah. So I love that. I think that's a lot of fun. And now we'll actually talk about this final 5 because, again, I have a 6 a.m. flight. I have a 6 a.m. flight.
Yeah, we got to go.
If I went to bed right now, I wouldn't even get 6 hours of sleep. So, Owen, we're coming into this. I have to put you on the spot first. How are you envisioning the first boot of this episode going? What are you seeing take place, and who do you got in 5th place?
I think 5th place is going to be Lauren. I think if she does not win the immunity challenge, she is in some trouble. I think she is very threatening as a jury threat. If she had a more even edit, I would be very high or excited on her prospects of winning. She's got this arc going. She's the last Ratu standing. She's won a couple immunity challenges. Plus, not that this would be the reason she would win at Final Tribal, but adding the fact that she's a single mom, 2 kids, that certainly is not dissuading to a jury. But unfortunately, we haven't seen it much. And, if she does lose the challenge, I think the Tika 3 would want to get rid of her more than they would want to get rid of Heidi.
Yeah, I have Lauren at number 5 as well. And earlier today was listening to On Fire with Jeff Probst, not to promote another podcast. And they were going through the final 5. And the way they were talking about Lauren, I was like, this girl's going to win. She's a beast. Like, she's going to do so well. And kind of so same as you, Owen, I was like, she has that threat level there. She's the only person who's won 2 immunities, I think, of this group. And I think the defining factor here is that Heidi voted with the Tika 3, and we have seen Heidi have some relationships with the Tika 3, whereas the Ratu group was not chosen by the Tika 3.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that automatically puts Lauren a bit on the outside, as well as the fact that I think between her and Heidi, she is the larger threat.
Well, and so I also have Lauren at 5. And here's the thing. I mean, everything you both said is spot on. And I just want to like bring up a couple points here. So we do a very basic fantasy game, Owen, right? Like you get an immunity idol, you play an immunity idol correctly, you get points. You quit the game, you lose points. However many days you last, you get points. Win immunity challenges, you get points. Play an advantage, right? You get points. Like that's it. Very basic. Lauren has the most points out of anybody on this season in that fantasy game.
No way.
Yeah. And only one person in our whole Patreon group picked Lauren for their 6-person team, and that person is winning by a lot.
Wow.
In addition, the only person on this season without a vote cast against them, other than the 2 people who were medevaced, is Lauren. She still has no votes against her. She's killing it in immunity challenges. She has the story. And I need to throw this in there too, because this is why she has to get 5th place and can't sit at final 3. When you look at the jury, Brandon would vote for Lauren. Jamie would vote for Lauren. Kane would vote for Lauren. She has her three Ratus would actually vote for her. There's 8 jury members. She's 1 away from causing a tie. I am not buying that she is sitting at final tribal. If she got there, I almost don't see how she would lose.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I think the point about the no votes cast against her, I think that is a pro in her column. I saw some people in the chat. Christian brought it up that Lauren has no votes, and then Zach said that that's not a brag. But I disagree. I think in this instance, it is impressive that she's navigated this socially. I think her relationship with Carson has proved to be pretty fruitful. And even though you could say, like, it is true, he was kind of stringing her along, I think they do genuinely have a respect and like for each other. But I remember that came up at our final tribal council when Gabler was talking about how he had no votes cast against him, at the time. And, to a certain extent, I still kind of felt like, it's because people weren't threatened by him. They wanted to take him to the end. But the jury's reaction when Cassidy brought that up at Final Tribal Council really surprised me at the time, that she said, like, oh, couldn't you make the argument that you weren't a threat to win? So that's why no one voted for you. And everyone was like, no, that's what it wasn't about. So I think it does speak to her social game in addition to her really impressive physical game that we talked about.
And I think because she has the impressive physical game, that's what makes it so much more impressive that she hasn't gotten votes, right? Because they know she can win challenges. And while maybe from a social standpoint, maybe from a strategic standpoint, she's never been the biggest threat that you need to say, okay, we got to target her. But she reminds me of Danny from 41, where Danny got 6th place, which is where Lauren was supposed to go, right? Like if Lauren doesn't win immunity last week, she probably finishes 6th place. So I just sit here and I'm like, when I look at this, it's a similar thing of maybe they're not targeting, but they know she's physical. They know that she has the social game. She knows she has votes on the jury. Man, if I'm with the Tikas and I'm worried that we're going to split votes, that I might not get every vote and that Carson or Carolyn or Jam Jam might steal one from me, her 3 votes become very dangerous. Very, very dangerous, very, very fast. So she's got to go. And I don't know. Just based on what we've seen, I'm not buying that she goes on like a Colby run here to get to the final. So this is going to be boring, isn't it? We're all going to do the same thing. We're all going to mess it up again, aren't we? Isn't that what's going to happen? Oh, and who do you have it for?
4th place. I think the young lad Carson is going to be losing fire making. I am a Carson's fiery glasses truther. I have seen the discourse around the gratuitous cinematography around the fire. And I don't know if it's like more than they usually do, but it feels like more than they usually do for one person with fire shots. So the real intriguing part for me is going to be who he's faced. I would eat my shoe if he is not at least in the fire making challenge. Like at this point, I'd be shocked if he's not. The question is who he's against, because we've in the premiere, we saw Jam Jam make fire. We saw Heidi make fire. And then I don't know if y'all noticed on the next time on Survivor in the preview, they showed this pretty like badass shot of Carolyn standing behind the fire, like from a low angle. And she's like, standing up. So there's potential like from the like edit perspective of a lot of them, but it'll be interesting because Carson said, and we saw in, the past few episodes, like he is viewed as such a threat. I'm sure like, people are afraid of his strategic social combination, I think has been really, really impressive, especially for a 20-year-old. Like, are you kidding me? Like, it's truly, truly impresses me that kid is a decade younger than I am, and he's playing like infinitely better Survivor than I did. He's really, really special player. But I think I'm worried he's going to fall short. So I think he's fourth.
There is also so much irony to the idea that the person who prepared potentially loses the fire making challenge. And I agree with you. I was looking at this group and we've been told that Carolyn makes fire all the time. I remember that Heidi made it in the premiere. Jam Jam made it. So like all the clues are there. But to your point about him being a huge threat, for a while, he felt like the actual nucleus of the Tika 3 because brother and sister are arguing on other sides. And crazily enough, the youngest kid is the one who's like, hey guys, I need to be the one to pick up the pieces. It could be a situation where the Tika 3 knows that they have to eat each other. And Carolyn, we've heard Carolyn actually say, I don't want to lose Carson just yet. I know I have to get rid of him at some point, but I can't lose him right now. And Jam Jam has already talked about getting rid of Carolyn. So I think Carson is probably the one who is going to be put in the fire making challenge. And I think he loses well. So he's also number 4 for me.
Yeah, I'm going. Well, I know y'all need to get to bed, but quick sidebar question: are they all siblings, or are Carolyn and Jam Jam his parents?
Yeah, I think it's parents because Carolyn has made
That's
a
the way
lot.
I believe.
And so here's okay. I'm trying to think about this from a Final Four perspective of depending on who wins, right? If let's say Lauren's 5th, and we all agree she's going to be 5th, whoever wins Final Four gets to pick somebody to come with them and puts people on fire. If Carolyn wins fire or wins immunity, I think she's taking Carson because of that relationship. I do think she would take Carson. And I think at this point she could beat Carson. And I don't think that would be the worst thing for her. But the question then becomes who's most likely to win immunity at Final Four, assuming Lauren goes at 5? It's probably Jam Jam. And who does Jam Jam take with him? He takes Carolyn because that's who he thinks he has the best chance to beat, in my opinion, which would put Heidi versus Carson. But if Heidi were to win, who does she take? Does she take Carolyn and put Jam Jam versus Carson? That's a really interesting one because then you're giving Jam Jam a lot of ammunition, which we've seen backfire on people in the past. It really comes down to who I think is going to win. And I do think that ultimately it's going to be Jam Jam who wins immunity and he'll take Carolyn with him. But man, there's a very real scenario where Carolyn wins and takes Carson with her. And we have Jam Jam versus Heidi and Carolyn just plays with her heart at the end. And it's almost like a Sugar situation, right? Where Sugar decided I'm going to put Maddie versus Bob because I can't make this decision. And Carolyn plays with her heart. And I don't think it would actually backfire on her as much, though. I think a lot of people think Carson would wipe the floor with Carolyn. I don't necessarily think that's true because I think Carolyn's played a really strong game and has really started to explain herself very, very well.
Yeah, I agree. Although the Dodo music they gave her when she was explaining the Tika Idol shenanigans made me nervous that was not received well. But then we saw the confessionals of people saying that, oh, Carolyn is a threat now. So I'm curious, like, if that was they were clearly like, they felt a certain way, like with the cuts and the music. Like, I wonder, like, it makes me nervous about like if she gets to the final 3, like how her final tribal might go. But I think, honestly, I don't know if this is a hot take or not, but I think Heidi might be the favorite for the Final Four challenge. Like Jam Jam winning Last Gasp, that is admittedly such a niche challenge. Like that doesn't necessarily speak tier abilities doing other stuff. And I'm trying to think, like, Lauren has won some of the physical ones. Carson's obviously the favorite if it's a puzzle, but this looks like the vertical maze with, I'm sure there's some situation at the end, but yeah, that'll be interesting to see what happens. I don't know, but I'd be curious. I know you, with your sports betting background, like what the odds would be on them winning the challenge. Yeah.
For sure. And what was your last challenge, Owen? What was the season 43 challenge?
Oh, I remember. It was stacking the bowls with the long fork.
Gotcha.
And I knocked mine over with 13 out of the 15 bowls, and then I bent my pole in half because I was so mad.
I do remember that now. Okay. See, but that's what I think. I think the tall vertical maze is going to be final 5, which puts Carson as the winner and knocks Lauren out of the game. At final 4, I think it's going to be something random. I think it's going to be total BS again. I think it's going to be stack your bowls, stack your plates. Yeah, the motion one, whatever. The Ben one where he had to stack the blocks.
The letters. Yeah. They haven't done the letters in a little bit. It's like a dexterity challenge.
And
I think if you had to like categorize. Yeah.
And honestly, that's not Jam Jam. You're right.
Yeah,
that's Heidi.
I think Heidi. I think it could be Heidi if it is something.
Heidi
like that.
is very. I don't want to say sneakily, but she's very good at challenges. I very well think it could be her.
She's very fit. She's super athletic.
Yeah, she's jacked.
I think so. Here's then what I think. So I was going to put Heidi at 4. I really was until we just talked this out. But now if it's going to be dexterity, Jam Jam's not going to win. I think Carolyn would get frustrated with herself, and I don't think I think Carson strength this puzzle. So I think Heidi wins, and I think Heidi takes Carolyn with her to final 3. And I think that puts Jam Jam versus Carson. And Owen, as a specialist in training here, said there were fire shots of Jam Jam making fire. And the irony of poor Carson, who planned for everything and then loses at fire, maybe just because of a situation like Gabler versus Jesse, where Gabler was just ridiculously good at it. Maybe it's just the same situation. Yeah, I still don't understand how he made that in like 4 minutes. But anyway, so I'm going to go with both of you, and I'm going to put Carson at 4. I really thought I was going to put Heidi, but we talked it through, and I'm putting Carson at 4 too. So it's the same final 3.
Same final 3. It's funny.
Carolyn, Heidi, Jam Jam.
Yeah.
Carolyn, Heidi, Jam Jam. We'll see. But it's just quick 43 story. Jesse had asked me on the day of fire making how Gabler was at it, and I said he wasn't that good. Not because I was trying to trick Jesse, but that's because that was my perception. Gabler really struggled with it, but I think he intentionally downplayed it. And then once we realized we were going to put him in, which was sad for me, but he's like, yeah, I make like 100 fires a year. Like, I'll be fine. Crazy. That man's an enigma.
And you wanted it so bad. It's like, I want to sit there. I want to make fire against Jesse. Like, give me this opportunity.
Yeah.
And
I knew it was kind of like it didn't matter once I had lost the challenge. That's why I was so mad that I lost the challenge, because like that was my shot to finally like claim my own destiny or whatever. But it's fine. I only think about the bowls every day. It's
exactly. You don't even eat food anymore. You're just like plates only.
Plates only.
Yeah, that's it. I love it. At least Survivor's not traumatizing, kids. But anyway, so we're at this final 3. And this is a really unique final 3 here, right? If our final 3 is correct, which is the one we're all in agreement on, we have Carolyn, Jam Jam, and Heidi. Carolyn has clearly gained some respect from the jury. We have seen that. People are impressed. Jam Jam seems almost, is he getting a little bit of like, not to the level of Gabler, but maybe like a Marianne, where people don't realize how good his social game really is. And they think they might be able to beat him, but then he's going to get the final tribal and wipe the floor. And then you have Heidi, who has Danny, Franny, and Matt all on the jury. I don't necessarily think that they're all going to vote for Heidi, but there are 3 Sokas that could just break Soka, and all of a sudden Heidi's got 3 votes.
Oh.
Let's talk through this. Before we all give our 1, 2, 3, let's talk through, Owen, how do you think that would play out to a jury?
Oh, God. I mean, it's hard because there is such a split with this jury, right? So we're saying Carson's on the jury. We've got the 3 Ratus. We've got, or no, there would be 4 Ratus.
There's 4 Ratus because of Lauren.
4 Ratus, the 4 Ratus, the 3 Sokas, and then Carson, right? So I'm doing some Culpepper math here. It's hard to say. Like, I think we could be in for a really good show because, like you said, Carolyn is getting hot at the right time. I think I think for someone who a lot of people probably, when they got off the boats on day one, didn't take seriously. They saw her trying to get her buoy over the pole and she was screaming and taking her jeans off. Everyone was probably like, who is this clown? Like, what is happening? And then all of a sudden she's making these great reads. She's playing an idol correctly adjacent, and, has proven to be a very capable, astute player. I think that almost can be more impressive than someone who you peg as a potential winner playing well, if that makes sense. Like, I think when someone is underestimated and then they prove you wrong, that almost garners more respect than someone being like, you are who we thought we were. Like, I don't know, like I just recently watched the Jeremy Lin HBO thing, that was so cool because no one expected that out of him. Like, they saw him and they're like, nope, he can't ball. And then all of a sudden, boom, like that's why, part of the reason why that was so compelling for people. So I don't know. I think it could go a lot of different directions, but Jam Jam's social game, I think he's so beloved, like seeing some of the word associations on the Gordon Holmes exit interviews that he does, people love that guy. And he's just so magnetic and fun. And then I was interested in this past episode when he was talking to Jamie about like, if you had written my name down, you would be on the jury. It almost came off like sinister in a way. And I wonder if that's setting up like this kind of cutthroat, like you think I'm this funny, goofy social guy, but really I do have this like Machiavellian, like revenge arc to my game as well. So I think both could be very compelling. And then Heidi, like with the Sokas, you never know how those numbers could fall.
Yeah. Go ahead, Alexa. I know you got it.
I think that's Jam's like kill shot, for lack of a better term. I think he has even when votes didn't go his way, he was like, haha, it's all fine. It's not fine. But because he does it in a cute way, it's really funny. And he can sort of disguise the way he actually feels. But what he said to Jamie and what he's been telling us in his confessionals, that's like Marianne pulling out her idol. That is his kill shot. So I think what's going to be interesting is if he goes up against Carolyn, they are going to be two super different pitches. And that's not to discount Heidi, but the two of them, I feel like out of these three are the two that are most realistic to win. And Carolyn's, I think she will really lean into the fact that she is an emotional player, and that does not mean she's not strategic. And that is a very like modern way to play. And I think someone like Franny, who has really shown to have a lot of respect for Carolyn, Franny's someone who has a lot of respect. I think she could probably push votes towards Carolyn. But Jam is probably a little more that traditional, I wanted to win and I'm going to win.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I really think we're in for all three finalists getting a vote, which we haven't had. We haven't had that in a little while. I don't remember what was the last season where we had all three finalists get a vote, because it wasn't 40. It hasn't been in the new era.
35.
35.
I'm
when
pretty
Ryan
confident.
got one, right?
Ryan got one from Devin.
Gotcha.
That was a very long time ago.
That was a very long time.
Yeah.
I mean, you're talking 10 seasons.
Yeah.
I think we might be in for that.
That's
because
terrible.
Think about this, right? Even if Jam sits there and pitches and has the kill, is able to just convince everybody like, look, I played the best game, and Carolyn gets a little flustered, whatever. I think Franny's going to vote Carolyn no matter what. And I think Danny is going to vote Heidi no matter what. Because I think Danny, even if he realizes at this point that Heidi did vote for him, is going to be like, wow, you got me and you tricked me. And I think he'll respect that because he liked Heidi. So I think that they're going to both get votes. And I think Jam's locked in to get at least a couple. The question then becomes, do Carolyn and Jam split the votes enough to actually put Heidi up over the top? And is there a scenario where Carolyn can get 4 votes to just 3 for Jam? Because if Heidi gets 1, let's say 1 is all she gets, can Carolyn get 4 to Jam's 3? Or will everybody kind of take the side of, Jam had the better pitch, let's all vote for him except for Franny?
Yeah. Alexa, what do you think?
I think Jam's going to win, but I'm going to say Carolyn because I think it's really close. And I don't want to do the same thing that I presume the two of you may be doing.
That's what I was gonna say. But just talking, I was literally gonna be like, I think my head says Jam Jam, my heart says Carolyn.
Yeah.
But to Abdul's point in the chat, I was gonna bring this up. Not only have we had 0 vote finalists for the past however many seasons,
Wow.
we have 3 7-1-0s in a row, and it sucks. Like, do y'all curse on here? Because I almost said
yeah,
it.
you can.
Oh, yeah.
We've had Johnny
It fucking
Depp
sucks.
playing on.
It sucks. Like the landslide votes. And, you know I was part of the problem with people being pissed at our jury, and I do apologize about that. And I'm fine with Carla and Jesse now. But like, just I do think, and obviously I wasn't at Ponderosa. I don't know how a jury operates, but I gotta think, just given the new era pattern, there's got to be some sort of narrative around wanting the right person to win. I just did air quotes for those just listening. But like I think people don't want to vote quote unquote incorrectly at Final Tribal, but I'm of the opinion that there's not an incorrect vote. But we've heard people talk about this with Winners at War, spoiler alert, that Michelle getting less votes than Natalie, which is bullshit in my opinion. I think people have said on the record that they didn't want Natalie to somehow squeak out the win if they split votes between Tony and Michelle. So it's just I'm fearful that somehow might happen, but I really hope we have a competitive Final Tribal.
Yeah. And you hear that a lot. I remember we spoke to Jamal after 39, and I think he was like, I walked into Final Tribal open to voting for Nora. And I know people were open to voting for Julie Rosenberg. People walk into I think people walk in possibly open, but then it could be probably a combination of just really good pitches or this is the way the group's going that take away those like 1 to 4 votes that could go to who ends up getting 1 or 0 votes.
Yeah. And I do think, Owen, you brought up a good point where there is such an emphasis on the right person, and I'll use air quotes too, but the right person, because I think back to China, which was one of the first 3-person Final Tribals we ever had. I mean, it was 13, 14 in China. Like it was the third time we had seen it. And it was, we had Yul versus Ozzy, which was epic. I mean, what are you going to do? 5-4 vote. It was epic.
Yeah.
Or Becky had no shot at getting anything, but it didn't matter. And then the next season, Earl just wiped the floor with everybody on that season. He was just incredible. He beat Dreams and he beat Cassandra easily. And it was understandable. And then we hit a final 3 where I truly believe that most of the jury actually would have been okay with anyone winning. And I think, Owen, that led to them being more willing to throw a vote at Courtney, throw a vote at Amanda, throw a vote at Todd, and say, let everybody kind of figure it out. But I think when you get these huge negative reactions to results, Ben beating Chrissy was a huge negative reaction. Gabler beating Cass last year was a huge negative reaction. Michelle beating Aubrey, as much as it pains me to say, because Michelle is the most deserving ever. When she beat Aubrey, that was a huge negative reaction. There is such an emphasis now on we want our season to be remembered as blah, blah, blah. And I think that prevents people from being willing to let somebody win in a plurality. Like, it doesn't happen anymore.
Yeah. Shame. It really is. And I think, Alexa, to your point, I do think part of it is me coping a little bit with the fact that my Final Tribal just wasn't that good. But
I don't think so.
I think it was fine. I think it could have been better. But anyway,
that was not a targeted statement.
No, I didn't think it was. I didn't think it was. But I'm just trying to call out my own bias as being the person who got 0 votes. Like, I do hope and dream that people were open to voting for me, and I think they were. I genuinely think they were. But I think and I mean, part of it honestly is just like you said, Phil, like just the whole meta of the Survivorverse and just like the reception to the season. Like, I think that can't be discounted. I think it was Ashley Nolan when she voted. I think she voted for Chrissy, if I'm remembering. But in her voting confessional, I remember saying, like, I want this person to represent our season. And I think the winner as representative, the winner as the top middle on the DVD cover, like, that's something that people really want to be proud of. You know?
Yeah, like Rupert in Pearl Islands, which I love that he's still the only one who didn't win his season and is top middle in his thing. So I just wanted to throw that in. But, and that could have been you. But I totally agree. And I do think, on a more serious note, the more that we see reactions from whether it's production or fans or social media, similar to how they were with your season, because social media is always going to complain. I mean, Carolyn could win this season and somebody's going to find something to complain about. And we're all going to be like, really? You're going to complain about this? But you're always going to find that. But in terms of like when production's like, can't wait to get to 44, 43's over there, like all of those things, that is going to make players think about this even more. Because if you play Survivor, you want to be a season that the people who talk about Survivor are bringing up. You don't want to be a forgotten season. You didn't go out there and starve for 20-something days just to not be mentioned ever. You didn't go out there to be Thailand. And I think that's going to play into people's thought process moving forward.
I agree.
Yeah. So
Phil, this is probably such a triggering conversation.
I know. Owen's like ready to like punch us. Tomorrow we're all gonna be like shots, and Owen's just gonna smack me in the face. Never mind.
No, not at all. No, I'm at peace. I'm at peace with all of it. I do think it's ironic if this is like the line of logic that we're following that our season then did have the reception that it did. It's just like goes to show you never know what it could like lead people to feel or whatever. So just vote for who you want to vote for.
Yeah. So how do you ultimately see this going down then? What's your whoever wants to go first? I want to go either second or third because I'm a gentleman and I let everybody else go first. But who wants to go first?
Well, let's already kind of said. Okay. Well, I think
Alex, so you do yours because you did say it. So I want Owen to have to like hold his.
Take a second. Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna say Heidi 3, Jam Jam 2, Carolyn 1, and I will say Heidi gets. Wait, how many people are on the jury before I do math?
8.
Ooh, that's interesting. I would love if we got a 4-4 and Heidi votes for the winner, but I doubt that's gonna happen. Okay, Heidi 1, Jam Jam 3, Carolyn 4.
Okay. So a 4-3-1, Carolyn pulls it out by 1 vote because Danny votes Heidi.
Love to see it.
I love to see it.
Well, and to play this game real quick, say Danny doesn't vote for Heidi and say it's 4-4. Who do you think Heidi votes for?
Heidi probably votes for Jam Jam.
I think so too.
Okay. I'm looking through the jury. So Brandon is our first juror, right? Mm-hmm. So, okay.
No,
I'm
Matt,
trying to do
right?
quick. Oh, yes, Matt. Oh, they wrote Matthew on here. Okay. Yes, Matt, then Brandon. Okay. So let's say Carson votes for this. Do I want to talk through all this? Is that going to take too long?
No, go ahead. Do what you got.
Okay. Carson for Carolyn. Lauren for Jam Jam. I'm going to zoom through this. Okay. I think Heidi does get third. I think I could see her getting 2. Let's say 2. Maybe from like a Lauren and a Danny, perhaps, or maybe Jamie / Lauren and Danny. And then I think I'm gonna still say I'm gonna go for the fun answer. The answer I hope to be true. I think Jam Jam 2, Carolyn 1. I would love if that were to happen. I think Carson could be a big difference maker on the jury as the final juror in our hypothetical scenario. Like, I think he would lean Carolyn. And I could see, even though him and Jam Jam were more in concert, I could see the more, like, emotional side maybe come through. And as I'm saying this out loud, I'm, like, wanting to contradict myself because we did see him in the last episode tell Jam Jam he was his number 1. But I don't know. I just love their dynamic and just the way Carolyn's like, that's my baby. Like, I can see it happening. I don't know. I think it's more fun to say Carolyn, even though I think in my heart, I know I'm probably wrong, but I want to be right on this one.
Yeah.
I'm going to go with what I think is going to happen. And it's not the most fun, but I think it's actually the most fun final moment you could ask for on this season. So I'm going to give my final 3, which is going to be Jam Jam wins, Heidi gets second, and Carolyn gets third. But hear me out on this. Rather than it being like a 7-1-0 or a 6-1-1, we're going to get a 3-3-2.
Ooh.
So Carolyn is going to get Franny's vote, and Carolyn is going to get Carson's vote. So that's 2 for her. Heidi is going to get Danny. I think Heidi could get Matt. And because I don't think Jam Jam and Matt really ever talked to each other. And I know they were like head to head there.
Yeah.
And I think Heidi will get Jamie because we did see them talking to each other. And then Jam Jam.
I mean,
A lot of people talk to me, Phil.
But there wasn't much of
Where's
Jamie
Owen
and Heidi
Killian?
talking to anybody this season, so that's a big deal.
So sad, but true.
And then for Jam Jam, it's going to be Brandon, Kane, and Lauren. They're going to vote for him. So like the Ratus are going to team up. And Carolyn is going to have to walk up to the confessional booth and pick the winner of Survivor 44. And she's going to write down Jam Jam's name and give him the W. That's my dream scenario. And honestly,
that'd be iconic.
As I was kind of talking through that I could see a 3-3-2 of Carolyn getting 2 and then Jam Jam and Heidi kind of splitting up the rest. I could also see it being like 6-2-1 or 5.
That would be so much better. And it would like what we were talking about, like Carolyn or Heidi or Jam, whoever being a 0 vote finalist. Like this makes it so much more exciting and put some like what a bookend that would be for Carolyn.
That'd be amazing.
Imagine her making those noises in the confessional, in the voting confessional, just like having to vote for somebody to win $1 million. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
These in my house.
We can dream. We can dream.
We can only dream.
That'd be awesome. Either way, I think if we get Carolyn, any combination of Carolyn and Jam Jam or Carson, like we get 2 of those 3 in the final, I think it's going to be really fun. I think it's going to be a really interesting final tribal, and I don't think it's as cut and dry as your final tribal was not cut and dry, and so I can't even lie about that. But like, I think the other like previous ones where it was like Erica kind of has to beat Deshaun and Xander, nobody's going to vote for them, or Tony has to beat Michelle and Natalie. There's no way. Tommy has to win. I feel like this isn't that cut and dry. Even though Jam Jam's ate up a lot of confessional time, as Owen said, Carolyn's actually got the most time. He might have the most confessionals, but she's got the most time. And all 3 of those players are huge parts of this story. And I could totally see, based on what Heidi's gotten as an edit, her getting like 2nd place in some absolutely devastating, heartbreaking way. So,
wow.
We shall see. Whose stands do you think would riot the most if they lose? Probably Carolyn's. Sure. Yeah.
Probably. As one of them, I may riot.
Yeah. I'm nervous to be at a party if Carolyn loses. Like I'm scared that all of a sudden her stands are just gonna it's gonna be like some what do you call that? Like Game of Thrones thing, where they're all just gonna be like
Red Wedding.
Yeah.
Oh my God. It's gonna be interesting because I've only been to one of Bryson Reynolds' parties, and it was a premiere. Let me tell you, I watched about 9 seconds of the entire episode. So I'm gonna need to rewatch this Thursday morning.
It's not optimized for watching. I'll say I don't want to say I regret going to LA for my finale, but I was hesitant because I wanted to be with my family. I wanted to be around my friends. I knew obviously I wasn't going to be winning, and I was like, do I want to be at the party where I lose and blah blah blah? But like, it's chaotic. It's going to be a heck of a lot of fun, and obviously I'll be less invested than I was watching my own. But I think you gotta hopefully they have subtitles on. Is what I have to say about that.
100%.
Right. And like for 3 hours, am I going to sit in the corner and be like, everyone shut up. I need to see you.
I'll sit in the corner with you. I will chastise the crowd with you for sure.
That was Adam Klein's move. Every time I went to a finale, Adam Klein, if it was, because we'd be able to go at like 5 and you could watch it on the East Coast time or whatever. But once it was 8 o'clock LA time, if Adam Klein hadn't watched it, he'd be like, hey guys, I can't hear what's going on. I'm trying to watch what's going on. And you'd be like, all right, Adam, I see what you did. You want to hang out with everybody, but also like when the thing's on, everybody better shut up or Adam Klein's coming for you.
I mean, this place, I don't think they designed it like this, but this place is an indoor and an outdoor. And what would be amazing is if like the indoor is the party scene and then outdoor, no one talks and watches. But I simply know that won't happen.
We can dream. We'll make it happen. I'll print some signs.
Yeah, everyone shut up.
This is the intern who's saying
it sure is.
Yeah, thank you, intern, for using "shut up" for the terminology there. But yes, it's going to be fun either way. I mean, I'll be taping it. I have DVR. Yeah, I said taping it because it's 1996.
Taping on DVR.
But I have DVR, and I'm really excited. Andy Vogel said the Bryson 141 finale was watchable. So
watchable. You hear that?
But guess what? There wasn't a Carolyn in the 41 finale. Okay, so every time Carolyn does anything, you better assume that the next 10 minutes nobody's gonna hear shit. Everybody's gonna go nuts. But yeah, I'm really excited for it. I haven't been to a party since the 39 finale, and I am so stoked to finally get back out there.
It's gonna be awesome
and really get back to post-COVID life. I'm so pumped.
Yeah, well, I'm excited to meet y'all.
Same here. It's so funny. We're talking to like for everyone else. We're like, oh yeah, maybe see you in a month or so. But we'll like see you tomorrow.
Yeah. Literally tomorrow. I know.
Yeah.
Well,
Beers on Sia.
I love it.
Let's
Thank
go.
you. That's great to hear. I'm very happy to hear that. Thank you, Sia. That money going to good use. But Owen, thank you so much for coming on. I am going to have to cut you off now because it's 10:30 and I really am under.
Yeah,
I felt it happening right at an hour. Beautifully done, y'all. Excellent.
Oh my goodness. How about that?
Yeah.
Well, we are going to recap probably Thursday night around 7 p.m. We just need to actually watch the episode. For those of you who will be in New York, come say hey to me and Phil. If we don't recognize you, this is so weird because like we are not famous, but sometimes this happens and it's very alarming.
You're famous to me.
It's crazy. I am coming with a +1 who I think is just simply not ready for any of this. So anyways, come say hi to us. We'll say hi back. Buy us a margarita if you want, but if you don't, then it's fine. But you should definitely be a patron, and that is pretty much my margarita money. So obviously Phil and I are going to be significantly podcasting a little bit less this summer. We both have some pretty major travel plans coming up in June. However, we are going to keep the patron podcast going. We're coming up with a pretty fun game that will hopefully go through their all of the summer months leading into the 45 cast reveal, probably sometime in August or September. So,
we get the trailer on Wednesday. That's exciting.
Oh yeah, how many minutes?
No one's even talking about that. By my finale, everyone was ready for the trailer for 44, but this year no one's talking about it.
Oh, and I'm taking a picture with everybody from 43 and just saying my favorite cast of all time because people don't understand that I'm really not trolling when I say how much I like 43.
Dude, you were defending us in my mentions last couple weeks ago.
I love it. I thought like, what did you miss? You missed so much. It was a great season.
So, but anyway, and thanks so much for coming on. Can't wait to see everybody tomorrow. Thank you, everybody who stayed with us through the whole season, and we'll be back with the finale on Thursday night because we are certainly not doing it Wednesday night. Bye, everybody.
We'll be in the corner.